I'm Rachel Drago, I'm 49 years old and I'm a nurse in the NHS, which I've worked in since I was 16 years old. I'm a mum to two beautiful kids, a wife to a wonderful husband, I've got pets and I've got loads of friends that I'm very lucky to have. I was first diagnosed with breast cancer in 2009, which resulted in full mastectomy, axillary node clearance, chemotherapy, radiotherapy and hormone treatment after that. It was during my radiotherapy that I noticed that my left arm was beginning to swell quite significantly during the daytime, that my rings weren't fitting, that my clothes weren't fitting comfortably. So I contacted my breast care nurse and she very quickly referred me into the Lymphoedema service within my local health trust, and they were very quick to diagnose lymphedema secondary to the treatment I'd had for breast cancer. It just felt like one more straw on the camel's back at the time. I thought after everything else that I'd put my family through, that I had gone through, to have another thing that required long-term, life-term treatment, I was actually rather depressed about it all. I'd already struggled with the change in body image that went with the mastectomy. Felt that I'd lost a level of sexuality then. And then to be told that for 18 hours out of every day I had to wear quite an ugly garment to my eyes at that time, it was very hard to come to terms with. And for quite a few years I did struggle wearing a circular knit garment that went from my knuckles to the top of my arm. A few years after that I was seen by two exceptionally good lymphedema nurse specialists, and they said, well, that's fine, we can change it. You don't have to struggle, you don't have to wear this garment. There are millions of other garments available, let me show you some. And it was like, if I'm going to have lymphedema, I can start to own this now. This can be something I'm in charge of, it's not in charge of me. My arm was measured, so they do a comparison and then they can work out the percentage difference between your affected arm and your unaffected. And from that they can decide what sort of compression to put you in, how much compression to apply. They look at your limb shape and they say, right, yeah, we'll go, you're suitable for this type of garment. And from my experience, there's two sorts of garments that you can try. One is a circular knit, which sort of applies a squeeze. And one is, like I'm wearing at the moment, a flat knit, which is knitted flat and then sewn up, and it applies a different type of pressure to your arm. So for a couple of years I struggled with the circular knit, and I'll be honest, I did struggle. And perhaps I should have been more honest with my therapist at that time to say how much I was uncomfortable with this particular garment. But now that I'm in the flat knit garment, which suits me but wouldn't necessarily suit someone else, I feel much better. Initial treatment, I was offered just simply garments, but as time has gone on, I've had a course of manual lymphatic drainage. I had a really good response to that after 3 weeks. I did significantly lose a good few centimetres off my arm at that point. The other thing you need to do as well is keep your weight stable, and I'm afraid I'm quite guilty of yo-yoing. And I do know that if I put on weight, my lymphedema's worse. In regards to developing cellulitis, I knew that it was the one thing I had to avoid having, and I was involved with a diabetic patient, teaching them how to do blood glucose monitoring. And I pricked the finger on my left hand. Within 12 hours I was hospitalised with raging cellulitis. From that moment on, I have recurrent cellulitis I have been hospitalised twice in intensive care with sepsis related to my cellulitis. I broke my children's hearts. I put them through hell going through the chemo, and then to end up twice in intensive care in 18 months. I felt for them, not for me. I was being looked after. The care I received was second to none in intensive care, and I'm very grateful to them because I don't think I would be here talking to you today. The consequences of not having treatment versus the consequences of having treatment and being open to change is what makes the lymphedema better. For patients or people that are newly diagnosed with lymphedema, and I do this in my clinical practice every day, I advise them not to think about the negatives, but to think about what they can do, not what they can't do. Anyone who's gone through treatment that's resulted in lymphedema, you have to cut yourself a little bit of slack, and you can't do it all. It is fatiguing at times, and you have to listen to your body, and you have to be kinder to yourself and respond to what your body is telling you. I haven't changed going on holiday, I haven't changed eating, I haven't changed what I do for exercise or for sport or for fun and games. I still love dancing, I still suntan. I will take my sleeve off and I will put the factor 30 on and I will still suntan. So I haven't made changes in that way, in that I've stopped doing things. The changes I have made with regards to my lymphedema are the things that I actually do to benefit myself. And let's look at the positives, let's look at how we can get back to the new normal.